Mrs. Laura Bennett was a well-respected professor at Westbridge University. She was known for her intelligence, beauty, and the way she carried herself with grace. Her husband, Dr. James Bennett, was also a professor at the same university, teaching physics while she taught literature. To outsiders, they seemed like the perfect academic power couple, two brilliant minds in love. But behind the carefully constructed facade, Laura was harboring a secret, one that would soon become the biggest scandal in university history. It all started when Laura became close to one of her students, a young man named Daniel Carter. He was charming, intelligent, and had an air of confidence that most students lacked. At first, it was nothing but innocent discussions about poetry and classic literature, but soon their conversations extended beyond the classroom. Late-night emails turned into secret meetings in her office, and before long, they had developed an inappropriate relationship. Laura knew it was wrong. She knew the consequences could be serious, but the excitement of secrecy was too tempting to ignore. Daniel was young, passionate, and he made her feel appreciated in a way she hadn't felt in years. The monotonous routine of her marriage with James now felt dull in comparison to the excitement she shared with her student. For months, their relationship continued in secrecy. They met in empty lecture halls, quiet corners of the library, and even in her car in the university's parking lot. They thought they were careful, but whispers had started to spread among students and faculty. Rumors of their unusual closeness circulated, but without proof, it remained nothing more than speculation. That was until one fateful evening when everything came crashing down. The university was hosting its annual academic conference, an event attended by professors, students, and guest speakers from prestigious institutions. It was being live-streamed to the university's official website and broadcast across various academic platforms. Laura and James were both set to give speeches, making them central figures of the event. As James was delivering his keynote address on stage, a sudden commotion erupted in the audience. Murmurs turned into gasps, and within moments, the entire hall was filled with the sound of shocked exclamations. The massive projector screen behind James, which had been displaying his PowerPoint presentation, suddenly changed. The audience expected to see his next slide, but instead, a video began playing. It was surveillance footage, grainy but unmistakable. The video showed Laura and Daniel in an inappropriate situation inside her office. The timestamp on the video was recent, mere days ago. Gasps of surprise and murmurs filled the auditorium as the footage played, showing moments that were clearly against university policy. The sound was muted, but the visuals were enough to create shock. Some students covered their mouths, others pulled out their phones to record what was happening live. James turned around, his face going pale as he took in the sight. His wife, his partner of 10 years, was exposed in front of the entire university, engaging in an unacceptable relationship with someone half her age. His jaw clenched, hands trembling at his sides as feelings of hurt and disbelief washed over him. The betrayal was broadcast for all to see, and there was no escaping it. Laura, who had been seated in the front row, stood frozen, her body paralyzed with fear. Her heart pounded violently against her ribs as she realized that there was no way out of this. She could feel hundreds of eyes burning into her, judgmental whispers filling the air like a chorus of condemnation. Daniel, who was seated a few rows behind, went stiff with shock. He knew their secret was risky, but he never imagined it would come to this. Exposed in front of the entire university, and worse, in front of her husband. Security rushed to the stage, trying to shut down the footage, but the damage had already been done. The video was being live-streamed, and within minutes, social media exploded with clips, screenshots, and commentary. The scandal was now public knowledge, spreading far beyond the confines of the university. James, still standing on stage, turned his gaze toward his wife. His expression was unreadable, shock, disappointment, and sadness all swirling in his eyes. Laura tried to speak, tried to mouth an apology, but no words came out. The weight of her actions hung heavy between them. Then, he did something no one expected. Instead of yelling, instead of reacting aggressively, James simply dropped the microphone and walked off the stage. He didn't stop to look at her as he passed, didn't pause as students and faculty stepped aside to let him through. He left the auditorium in silence, leaving Laura standing there, utterly exposed. The next morning, the university was in chaos. News outlets had picked up the story, and social media was still ablaze with discussions about the scandal. Some students expressed shock. Others debated whether or not Laura should be fired. The administration had no choice but to act swiftly. Laura was immediately suspended, pending an official investigation, while Daniel faced disciplinary action for engaging in an unprofessional relationship. James, despite being the one affected, resigned from his position, unable to bear the humiliation of working in a place where his wife's actions had been made a public spectacle. Laura tried to reach out to James, desperate to explain herself, but he refused to speak to her. The trust was shattered beyond repair. Their home, once filled with warmth and love, now felt like a hollow, broken space. Eventually, she received divorce papers, the final indication that their marriage was beyond saving. Daniel, on the other hand, withdrew from the university, unable to handle the backlash. What had started as an exciting, secret relationship had turned into a nightmare that damaged reputations and futures alike. As for Laura, she became the center of one of the biggest academic scandals in university history. No institution would hire her again, her once promising career reduced to nothing but a cautionary tale. She had lost everything: her job, her marriage, her dignity, all for a fleeting relationship that was never meant to last. And as she sat alone in the empty house that used to be her home, she finally realized the true cost of her actions. But by then, it was far too late to undo the damage that had already been done.